Hello everyone, welcome to Road to A+. I'm Rotaractor Malmiha Sara, the editor of the Rotaract Club of National School of Business Management for the year of 2020-21. So today also I'm here with a new lesson from the grade 9 English syllabus with Road to A+. So before continuing our lesson today, I would like to convey my apologies to y'all for not being able to upload a video for the last week. So due to some unavoidable circumstances, I was unable to do this recording and upload this video during the last week. So therefore, today I'm going to continue on with the third lesson, which I was supposed to record and upload during the last week. Before moving on with the third lesson, as always, I would like to remind you, if you have any kind of issues or any problems, or if you need any further clarifications or explanations, you always feel free to drop a text in the comment section telling about your problems and issues. So I'm always here to help you all with further explanations and clarifying all your issues. So since we don't have any such kind of questions or issues or problems, today I'm going to move on with our next lesson, which means the third lesson of the grade 9 English syllabus. Okay, so let's get started with our new lesson. Okay, so let me share my screen for y'all first. Okay. All right. So this is the third lesson of the grade 9 English syllabus. Okay. So it says meeting. Okay. So you can see, as always, the activity number 1 is an act out. Okay. So we can just read this act first and then find out what we are supposed to do. Okay. So it says activity 1 and act out. Okay. The Prefects Guild of Gajaba Mahavidyalaya and Kanaganayaka Mahavidyalaya have jointly organized the International Conference for Student Leaders for the first time in Sri Lanka. Student leaders from 10 different countries are invited to this conference. Different grades have been assigned different responsibilities. The grade 9 pupils have been given the responsibility of welcoming and ushering the guests. A group of friends from the two schools meet to discuss what they have to do. Madhavi: Hi, I hope I'm on time. Pavi: Yes, you are. Now that all are here, shall we start? Nipuna: Well, have you thought of how we could welcome our guests? Pavi: Sounds like you've got a plan up your sleeve. Nipuna: Actually, I have. Ajay: That's great. Ashan: So tell us about it, Nipuna. Nipuna: All right. The most common form of welcoming guests at international conferences is shaking hands. But each culture has its own form of greeting guests. Ajay: Is that so? Are you sure? Nipuna: Wait till I finish. We all need to be mindful about how we greet people. Pavi: What is that? Nipuna: Well, for example, in some cultures, women do not shake hands with men. Madhavi: That's true. Are there any countries that greet their guests like we do? Ashan: Yes, there are many, like India and Nepal. Nipuna: They say namaste while we say aiboan and vanakkam, and we all use the same gesture. Ashan: Yes. Ajay: Even in Thailand, they use the same gesture. Pavi: And the Japanese, they bow like this. Bows and shows. Madhavi: Okay, now that we have some information, what do we do next? Ashan: Why don't we go to the computer lab to find some more information? All right. So we are done with reading it. Okay. So when we read it, we could find out what is this. So the topic of this lesson is meeting. Okay. And then here itself, you can see what kind of a meeting is it. Okay. So this is a meeting uh, of the students of two schools. For what? Because the prefix guilds of Gajaba Mahavidyalaya and Kanaganayagam Mahavidyalaya have jointly organized the International Conference for Student Leaders. Okay, so the prefix guild of these two colleges, one is Gajaba and the other one is Kanaganayagam. So the prefix guilds of these two schools have jointly organized a conference. Okay, but it's not just a national conference, it's an international conference. Okay, so this is happening for the first time in Sri Lanka. Okay, so student leaders from 10 different countries are invited to this conference. Okay, so this is all about an international conference about student leaders, and it is being organized by the two prefix guilds of Gajapa Mahavidyalaya and Kanaganayaka Mahavidyalaya. And for this, they are inviting 10 different countries. They are inviting student leaders from 10 different countries to hold this conference. And this is the first time that such a conference is happening in Sri Lanka. Okay, so different grades have been assigned with different responsibilities. And for grade 9 pupils, they have given the responsibility to welcome and usher. What do you mean by usher? So welcoming means you just go, then you just greet, and then if you have any sort of bouquets, or then if you have any garlands, then you put them and you give some greeting, and then you warmly welcome them for coming to your place. Okay, so imagine that even a relative or a neighbor comes to your home, still your mother, father and yourself do some greeting and welcome them to your home. So that's the very first place that you show that you are happy for their arrival. Okay, and then what do you mean by ushering? Ushering means that you're guiding them. Okay, so from now just imagine that someone came to your home. Okay, so you just open the door and you just go on. No, you don't. You just guide them. Okay, because they don't know where to go and sit, and they don't know where to find the way. So you are guiding them to find their way to the living room, or to the washroom, or to the kitchen, or the dining area. Wherever they want to go, you're going to guide them to wherever they want to go. So that is what you call by usher. Okay, so when it comes to this conference, the grade 9 students have been given the responsibility to welcome them and to usher. So for welcoming, they want to know the greetings, how they have to greet, what they have to give. So when it comes to the Sri Lankan context, we have our hands like this, and we used to say Ayubowan like this. Okay, so similarly, Tamil people, they have the same gesture, but they used to say Vanakam. Okay, so likewise, there are different ways that people greet each other. Okay, so for this thing, since this is a multi-national conference, these organizers should have a proper knowledge about how are they going to welcome each of these people. Okay, so when it comes to greeting, you have when it comes to welcoming, you need to know the greetings and what you can use to welcome them. Okay, so when it comes to Sri Lankan context, normally the traditional way is giving beetle. Okay, giving a bunch of beetle. Okay, so you give the beetle leaves, and then you say Ayubowan. Okay, so that's the Sri Lankan Sinhala way. Okay, so then when it comes to this modern days, you can see that if it is a she, that means if it's a girl or a woman that you're going to welcome, you're going to give a basket of flowers. Okay, or a bouquet of flowers. Okay, and if it is a gentleman, then you're going to put a flower garland, a garland of flowers. So likewise, you have different ways of welcome. Okay, so since the grade 9 students have got this responsibility of welcoming and ushering, so the two groups from the two schools are meeting in order to discuss furthermore on how they are going to proceed on with this welcoming and ushering. So at that moment only, this conversation has been happened between the two groups from the two schools. Okay, so these grade 9 students or the pupils are talking about how are they going to welcome and usher the guests who are coming from different countries. Okay, so first of all, Madhavi is telling, hi, I hope I'm on time. Okay, so then Pavit is telling, yes, you are. What do you mean by yes, you are? That means yes, you have come on time. Okay. So then Pavit is telling, since all of us are here, shall we start the discussion? Okay. So then Nipun is telling, Nipun is asking from others, do you all have any idea about how are we going to welcome our guests? Okay. So when that was heard by Pavit, he's telling, well, seems like you must be having some idea. So why don't you discuss it with us? Why don't you share that idea with us? Okay. Then Nipun is telling, actually, I have. What do you mean by actually I have? That means he's telling, yes, actually, I have a plan on how to welcome our guests. Okay. So then Arjun is telling, that's great. Okay. So Ashan is telling, so tell us about it, Nipun. So all the others are now excited to know the plan of Nipun. Okay. So now Nipun is telling, sorry. All right, the most common form of welcoming guests at international conferences is shaking hands. But each culture has its own form of greeting guests. Okay, so when you see any international event or a conference or any kind of event, we can see that we do shake hands. Okay, so now we have to forget about this current situation with COVID-19. Because of COVID-19, we are being aware that we should not shake hands to welcome each other because the virus can be transmitted from person to person by touching others. Okay, so since these lessons were built before this pandemic situation, we have to consider the past, not this current situation. Okay, so nowadays, of course, we are not doing shaking hands to welcome guests. We just say hello, or we just do like this according to the Sri Lankan context. So we don't, since we don't need to transmit this virus from one person to another. Okay. But before, the most common way of greeting and welcoming was shaking hands at international conferences. Okay, so Arjun is telling, is that so? Are you sure? Okay, he's asking because Nipun is telling the most common way is that, but different cultures are different. Okay, so Arjun doesn't know about that, so he thinks that everyone does the same thing. So that's why he's asking, oh, is it? Are you sure? So Nipun is telling, wait till I finish. Since we have so many people from different cultures, we have to be mindful of how we greet them. Okay, so Pavit is asking, why is that important? So Nipun is telling, for example, in some cultures, women do not shake hands with men. Okay, so there are some cultures where you can see this men women discrimination. You have this gender discrimination. So in such cultures, women do not shake hands with men. Okay, so if that's so, there would be a problem if we try to do shaking hands for all the people from different cultures. So we have to have some mindful knowledge about how each culture welcome each other. So then we have to greet them and welcome them in their own way in order to not to embarrass them and to welcome them in a warm manner. Okay, so Manav is telling, that's true. Are there any countries that greet their guests like we do? So she's asking, so now what is the way that we do? So as I told you before, it's like this. This is the gesture and we used to say, Ayubowan. So she's asking whether are there any other nations also who greet like us. So Ashan is telling, yes, there are. The countries like India and Nepal, they do like that. Okay, so Nipun is telling, yes, the gesture is same, but the words that they use is different. Okay, so for example, Indians say namaste. Okay, while Sri Lankans say Ayubowan or Vanakkam with the same gesture. Okay, So Aishan is also adding some points telling, yes, it's correct. Even in Thailand, they use the same gesture. This is the gesture even Thailand use. Okay. And then Kavit is telling, but when it comes to Japanese, they don't use hands or any other way. They just bow. Okay. What do you mean by bow? You bend yourself. Okay. You bend yourself from your hips. Okay. And then you bob like this and then you greet. Okay, that's how they welcome and they greet their guests. Okay, so Madhavi asking, so now since we have some information, what are we supposed to do next? Then Ashani is suggesting, yes, we have some information, but it's not enough. We have to have a lot of information and a good knowledge when doing this particular task. So why don't we go to the computer lab and find some more information? So now they are going to browse the internet and find some more information about how they are going to welcome different people from different nations according to their cultures and according to their greetings. Okay, so that's the gist of this conversation or the dialogue. Okay, so since we are done with activity number 1, we can move on with the activity number 2. It says it's reading. Okay, so it says read the conversation and do the following activities. Okay, so the first activity is state if the following statements are true or false. Okay, so now it's time for us to say whether these are true or false. The conversation is about a national conference. Is it true? What is this conversation is all about? This conversation is about how to welcome the invitees of different nations to the national conference. The conversation is not directly about the national conference, but how to welcome the people, the invitees for the national conference. So if they say the conversation is about national conference, it's false. Okay, it's false. All right. So the next one is, this event is for student leaders. Is it? Yes, it is. Because it says that this is an international conference for student leaders. Okay. So here you could see it says it's for international, it's an international conference for student leaders. Okay. Then it says pupils representing different countries will attend the program. Yes, right? So there will be different pupils representing different countries joining this conference. So it's true. Okay. The event is organized for the first time. Yes, it says this kind of event is organized for the first time in Sri Lanka. Okay. So it's also true. Okay. So then they are telling the friends are talking only about how they greet in India. No, they didn't. They said about Thailand, they said about Japan, they said about Nepal. So likewise, they talked about many countries, not only India. Okay. So then it's false. Okay. All right. So these are the answers. Then we have some questions to answer. Okay. Who are the organizers of the event? Okay. Who are the organizers? The prefects guilds of the two schools. The prefects guilds. Prefects guilds of, what are the names of the two schools? Of, it's Gajaba, right? Let me check it. Kanaganayagam and Gajaba. Yes. Wait, let me take the box again. Gajaba Mahavidyalaya and Kanaganayagam. Kanaganayagam Mahavidyalaya. Okay, the prefects guild of Gajaba Mahavidyalaya and Kanaganayagam Mahavidyalaya. Okay, so what is the responsibility given to the grade 9 pupils? It is welcoming and ushering the guests. Okay, welcoming and fostering the guests. Okay, so that is the responsibility given for the grade 9 students. All right. Okay, so let's clear this and go to the next one. Okay, so I cleared the answers for the first one. And okay, so what are the countries mentioned in the conversation? What are the countries? Let's see. So here they have mentioned about India, then they have mentioned about Nepal, okay, then they have mentioned about Thailand, then again Japan, okay. So they have mentioned about 4 countries and Sri Lanka as well, okay. So let's write about all the 5 countries they have mentioned, okay. So they have mentioned Sri Lanka, India, Nepal, Japan, and Thailand. Okay, so these are the 5 countries they have mentioned during their conversation. Okay, all right. Then it says find information about some other countries and complete the table given below. All right, this is something very interesting. Okay, so find information about some other countries and complete the table given below. So now we got to know that in Sri Lanka, in India, in Nepal, we use the same gesture like this and we use different words. So in Sri Lanka, we say Aibowan or Vanakkam, and in India, we say Namaste. Okay, and also we got to know that Thailand also does the same thing, the same gesture, and they use some different words. And then we got to know in Japan, they bow. Okay, so likewise, we have different kind of gestures and different kind of words when greeting our guests in different nations and countries. So here, this is a place that we have to do our own research and find out the answers. Okay, so it says find information about some other countries. That means you can't mention these 5 countries. So instead of these 5 countries, apart from these 5 countries, we have to find some more countries and find out how they greet. Okay, so I found few countries and how they greet each other. Okay, so let's see about that. Okay, so all right, here you have Argentina. Okay, you have heard about this country. So Argentina, kiss on the right cheek. Okay, so it's kind of different. We have not seen maybe, but I think Argentina, when you see the games played in these countries, you can see these greetings. Okay, it can be either football or some kind of game like that. So the team greets each other in this manner with a kiss on the right cheek. Okay, so that's the way they greet when they find a guest, okay. And New Zealand, hongi, the way they greet, they call it as hongi, okay, and that is touching noses. Okay, one person is touching the nose of the other person with the nose. So the 2 noses are the things that you use to greet the other person. Okay, so it's when it comes to this present situation, it's a very dangerous way, but then in New Zealand, that's the way that they do their greetings. Okay, so they touch each other's nose in order to greet each other. Okay, then when it comes to France, okay, kiss on each cheek. Okay, it's not just a hugging, they just kiss on each cheek. Okay, and Ukraine, it's a triple kiss. What do you mean by a triple kiss? There they used to kiss first the left, then right, again left. Okay, so they give 3 kisses to welcome a person or to greet a person. Okay, and then the next one is Tibet. Tibet is sticking the tongue up. Okay, you just put your tongue out like this. Okay, you just put your tongue out, and that's the way that they greet each other in Tibet. Okay, so it must be really interesting to find out how the other countries do these greetings and all. Okay, so if you get time, you also can search and you can browse the internet and find more information about how each country, how each nation greet each other. Okay, all right, so now we are done with that activity as well. Now we have come to the activity number 3, which is a speaking and writing activity. Okay, speaking and writing. Okay, so here you can see mm, it says, look at the pictures given below, work in pairs and write the greeting shown by each other. Here you can see it's a bug. Okay, it's a bug, so it must be Japan most probably. Okay, so we learned in the paragraph as well, Japanese do bug in order to greet and welcome the other peoples. Okay, so the greeting, the word for that is konnichiwa. Okay, so Japanese say konnichiwa and bow and then greet the other person. Okay, so that is the Japanese greet. Okay, so here you have a very familiar gesture. Okay, a very familiar gesture. What is it? Okay, a very familiar gesture. You can call it as ayubowan, or else you can say vanakkam. So this should be most probably either vanakkam or namaste. Okay, because you can say they are wearing saris. Okay, and they are wearing like Tamil or Hindu people. Okay, so these two ladies are wearing like that. So probably this should be either namaste or vanakkam. Okay, all right. Here we can see two Muslim people. Okay, so how are they going to greet each other? They're going to hug each other and say Assalam alaikum. Assalam alaikum. Okay, Assalam alaikum. Okay, and then here it's a handshake. Okay, so it can be like hello, how are you? Okay, you can say hello, how are you, or hi, how are you, anything like that. You just have a handshake. Okay, so this is it. Okay, so you have to see these pictures and then you have to identify each of these greetings and how they welcome each other. Okay, so now I'm going to clear these drawings and move on with the next activity. Okay, activity number 4, it's a listening activity. Okay, it says listen to the dialogue between Ajayan and Nikuna and do the workbook activity 3 in unit 3. Okay, so it is a listening activity and you have to do it in your workbooks. So since we don't have the workbook with us to do this activity, we are going to skip activity number 4 and then we are going to this learning point. Okay. So let's read this learning point and see what are we supposed to learn from this green box. Okay. Read the following utterances taken from the conversation. Madhavi. Hi, I hope I'm on time. Pavit. Yes, you are. Here, the words in bold type mean you are on time. Okay, so when explaining the conversation, I explained that part. Okay, so here, when Madhavi is telling, hi, I hope I'm on time, Pavit is telling, yes, you are. So what do you mean by this you are? That means you are on time. Okay, so this long version is said in a shorter manner. Okay. Now read the following. Pavi, sounds like you've got a plan up your sleeve. Nipuna, actually I have. So what do you mean by I have? That means he has got a plan. That means I have got a plan. So this long version is given in a shorter manner. Okay, so that is the learning point. So when you come across with such situations, you have to identify what they imply from that short version. Okay, so we are moving on to the activity number 5 with that. So it says, read the following dialogues, write what is meant by the words in bold. Okay, so here Deshan is telling, you seem to be happy. Yes, I am. So what do you mean by yes, I am? That means I am happy. Okay, that means I am happy. The sentence that you're going to say as I am happy has been shortened and said as yes, I am. Okay, so then Adil is telling, I like to play football. So do I. What that means? Rikaz is telling, so do I. That means I also like to play football. Okay, so that is what he meant by so do I. Okay, then the next one. Okay, the next one is telling, Arjun is telling, he is tired. Yes, he is. He has been practicing all day. What do you mean by yes, he is? That means yes, he is tired. Okay, so yes, he is means he is tired. Okay, then Kavin is telling, I think she answered all the questions. She did. What do you mean by she did? That means she did answer all the questions. She did answer all the questions. Okay, so these long versions have been short. Okay, and the final one is Chalinda is telling, hope we have enough water for the trip. Then Navindu is telling, yes, we do. What do you mean? That means we do have enough water for the trip. Okay, so we do have enough water for the trip is meant by yes, we do. Okay, so these are the long versions or the meanings implied by these short answers. Okay, all right. So we can move on to the next activity. Okay, so I'm going to clear these drawings. Okay, so we'll move to the next one. Okay, so activity number 6 or the final activity for today. Okay, it's about reading. Okay, so let us first read this and find out what is this about. So I think this article or this paragraph or whatever we are going to read is missing its topic, so we don't know what are we going to read. So let's read and see what this passage or this paragraph or this article is all about. Okay, given below is an article read by Nisala, who is a prefect. He read the article to get an idea about the utensils the delegates would use when eating. What do you mean by that? The tools that they use, the fork or the sticks or the spoon, the knife, whatever the tools that they use to eat is known like that. Okay, read it aloud and answer the questions. The tools used for eating food vary around the world. They include spoons, chopsticks, forks, etc. These utensils mostly depend on the kind of food people eat. Spoons, forks, and knives are commonly found in Western countries such as England, Germany, and France. However, they vary in shape and size depending on the purpose. For example, table fork, fruit fork, and dessert fork vary in size. Chopsticks have been used in East Asia for many years. They are used in countries such as China, Japan, and Korea. However, it is said that the Chinese were the first to use them. Okay. Apart from that, people in some countries use fingers to eat. For instance, in Sri Lanka, people use fingers to mix the curries with their rice. In Ethiopia, people use their right hand to eat food. The staple food is injera, a pancake-like flat bread which is usually served on large flat plate. This is topped with all types of curries. They use pieces of injera to scoop the curries. Similarly, Indians too have the habit of scooping the vegetables and other curries with naan or chapati. Many people in Mexico too use tortillas to scoop rice, beans, and other food. However, at present, people all over the world across different cultures use forks, knives, and spoons even to eat their own local dishes. All right. So, when you read this, what do you see? What do you feel? That means it's all about the tools that each of the nations, each of the cultures use when they eat. Okay, so when it comes to Sri Lanka, we use a hand. We use most of us use our right hand, and we use our fingers to eat. Okay, so we have our staple food is rice. Okay, so we used to eat rice with different curries such as vegetables or fish and meat. Okay, so we take the plate and we have some rice on the plate, and then we have different kinds of vegetables and meat or fish, and so then we mix everything using our fingers, and then we eat them by our fingers. Okay, but by now even Sri Lankans have practiced to use spoons, forks, and knives. Okay, but originally they were used by the Western countries such as England, Germany, and France. Okay, so those people originally used spoons, forks, and knives. Okay, the Western countries. Okay, and then when it comes to East Asia, that means the countries like China, Japan, and Korea, they use the chopsticks. Okay, you may have seen chopsticks, the two sticks that they use to eat rice and noodles. Okay, so they never use these spoons and forks to eat rice and noodles. They use chopsticks. Okay, so then in countries like Sri Lanka, India, and even in Ethiopia, people use fingers. Okay, so in India, they have this a bread called naan and chapati. Okay, so they use those naan and chapati, and instead of their like they have them in their hands, and they used to feed themselves. Okay, so they eat them with curries. Okay, then they use this bread. Okay, there is a naan and chapati bread to scoop the curries and eat, because they eat these breads with these curries. Okay, similarly when it comes to Ethiopia, they also eat like that. The staple food is injera. It's also a pancake like a bread. It's a pancake like flat bread. Okay, so not only that, even people in Mexico, they also have a staple food called tortillas. Okay, so they use tortillas to scoop rice, beans, and other food. Okay, so that's how people eat according to their cultures and nations. But then, when it comes to the present world with globalization and with all these technology and everything, and all these countries are becoming more westernized, all of them are now practicing to use forks, spoons, and knives even to eat their own local food. Okay, so Sri Lanka is the best example for that. So even though we used to eat from fingers, and even though we used to use our hands, nowadays we use spoons, forks, and knives even to eat our staple food, rice. Okay, and also here in the above part, when they're talking about these spoons, forks, and knives, it says they use these tools in different shapes and different sizes according to the purpose. Okay, so they have table fork, fruit fork, and dessert fork. Okay, so when it comes to table fork, that is what you use to eat the main menu. Okay, and then you have the fruit fork only to eat fruit. Okay, and then you have the dessert fork where you use to eat your dessert. Okay, So likewise, you have various tools in order to eat these various kinds of food according to your cultures and your nationalities. Okay, so this whole paragraph describes about different kinds of tools that different nations use to consume their food. Okay, so again we have an activity to state whether it's true or false. Okay, so let's read these sentences and do the activity. Okay, so the first one is, people around the world use different utensils for eating. Yes, it's true. Okay, that's what we were talking. Okay, then most Western countries only use spoons for eating. No, it's false. They don't only use the spoon, they use knives and also they use forks. Okay, most people in East Asian countries use chopsticks when eating. Yes, what are these East Asian countries? Those are Korea, then Japan, China. Okay, so all those East Asian countries they use chopsticks. Okay, so though everyone used chopsticks, Chinese tells that they were the first to use chopsticks. Okay, so injera is the staple food in Mexico. Okay, that should be checked. I can't remember. Let's go to the top and see. Injera. No, injera is the Ethiopia. In Ethiopia, people use their right hand to eat food. Their staple food is injera. So injera is the staple food of Ethiopia, not in Mexico. Mexico, the staple food is tortillas. What do you mean by staple food? That is the main food that they consume. So in Sri Lanka, it's rice for us. So likewise, for Ethiopians, it's injera. For Mexico, it's tortillas. Okay, so this is wrong. That means this is false. Injera is Ethiopian. Okay, all right. So these are the answers for true and false. Okay. And here, complete the following table. Country and the tools that they use for eating. Okay, all right. Let's try. When we have countries like, we can say these Western countries, we can name them. Okay, England. Okay, then we have France. Okay, then we have German. What do they use? What do they use? They use spoons, forks, and knives. Okay, they use spoons, then forks, and knives. Okay, all right. Then we have these East Asian countries. Okay, what are these East Asian countries? We learned China. Okay, and then Japan. Okay, and then we have Korea. Okay, so what do they use? They use the chopsticks. Okay, they use the chopsticks. Okay, then the next one is then we have Ethiopia. Then Ethiopia, India, okay, and Sri Lanka. We use fingers, okay, hand and fingers. Okay, you can say hand and fingers. Okay, so these are the countries and these are the tools that they use to eat food. Okay, all right. Then now I'm going to clear this out. Go to the next question. All right. So they are asking, write what is meant by the following words, phrases highlighted in the text. Okay, let's go back to the text and see. Them and this. Okay, them and this. What do you mean by them? All right, let's read from here. Chopsticks have been used in East Asia for many years. They are used in countries such as China, Japan, and Korea. However, it is said that the Chinese were the first to use them. What do you mean by them then? That means chopsticks. Okay. However, it is said that the Chinese were the first to use chopsticks. Okay, so this word them has used instead of the word chopsticks. Okay, all right. Let's go down and write that down first. So them means chopsticks. Okay, let's have a text box. Okay, so chopsticks. So that means chopsticks. All right. So let's go up and find out what they have meant by this. All right. Here you have the word this. This is topped with all types of curries. What is this? Let's see. In Ethiopia, people use their right hand to eat food. Their staple food is injera, a pancake-like flatbread which is usually served on a large flat plate. This is topped with all types of curries. So this means injera, the staple food of Ethiopia. Okay, so here this means injera. Okay, this means injera. Okay, so let's have a box. Okay, so injera is what you call as this. Okay, all right. So the final question is, suggest a suitable title for this text. Okay, so we said that this whole paragraph talks about different tools or utensils used for eating in different countries. So we can say different utensils used by different countries to eat. Okay, so this is just a suggestion. You can give any kind of similar topic, okay, but it should tell that this whole paragraph talks about different tools that people in different countries use when eat. All right, okay, so that's all for the activity number 6. Okay, so I'm going to clear all the drawings. All right, so from activity number 7 onwards, I'm going to continue the lesson from next week. So I'm going to stop my sharing. Okay, so that's all we have for today. Okay, so we have done the first part of the grade 9 English syllabus, third lesson. Okay, so up to the activity number 6 I did today, skipping activity number 4 since it was a listening activity and you have to complete it in your workbook. So because of that I skipped that activity, but I did all the other activities up to activity number 6. So the next week I'm going to upload the next video to continue from activity number 7 till the end of the grade 9 English lesson 3. Okay, so before winding this session, I would like to remind you once again, if you get any kind of issues or any kind of problems relating to this particular lesson or the previous lessons, you are feel free to drop a text in the comment section mentioning your issue or your problem, and I'm always there to help you all with clarifying your issues with further explanations. So with that reminder, before winding up, I would like to tell you another thing, a reminder actually. So if you guys feel like you have got something for yourself from our end, that means from this Road to A Plus project, from these videos, if you feel like these videos have a good content that helps you to improve and that helps you to recap all the knowledge that you did throughout your past year, so you can always like our videos, and also you can subscribe our channel, and you can give us a feedback, because it is your feedbacks which keeps us going forward more and more, and adding more and more details into these videos and improving. So if you guys have any kind of suggestions to improve these videos, you can always mention them as well, and you can subscribe our channel. So with that reminder, I'm going to wind up today's session. So let's meet again next week with the next part of the grade 9 English syllabus, lesson 3. So till then, stay safe, study hard. Okay, so let's meet once again in the next week. So bye bye. Bye, Vala, Rotaract.